Good evening. We are back on this channel doing another house song, this time in the style of Kisses by Bless. Have you ever heard of a rat king? It's where rats all get all confused and their tails all intertwine and they can't sort of separate from each other and it becomes this big rat king. Well, you don't have to think about that because today rat kings are not important, but brat queens are. We are doing a remix of Charlie XCX. Let's get into it.
Yeah, that city feels that's the vibe, internationally recognized. I set the tone, it's my design and it's stuck in your mind. Legacy is undebated, you gon' jump if AG made it. If you love it, if you hate it, I don't fucking care what. That city feels that's the vibe, internationally recognized. I set the tone, it's my design and it's stuck in your mind. Legacy is undebated, you gon' jump if AG made it. If you love it, if you hate it, I don't fucking care what you think.
Let's listen from the top.
I went my own way and I made it. I'm your favorite reference, baby. Call me Gabrielle, you're so inspired. Tectonic moves, I make them shock you like defibrillators. No style, I can't relate, I'll always be the one. Drop down, yeah, the camera flash on. So stylish, big tears are gone. Drop down, yeah, looking like an icon. Work angles, yeah. That city feels that's the vibe, internationally recognized. I set the tone, it's my design and it's stuck in your mind. Legacy is undebated, you gon' jump if AG made it. If you love it, if you hate it, I don't fucking care what. That city feels that's the vibe, internationally recognized. I set the tone, it's my design and it's stuck in your mind. Legacy is undebated, you gon' jump if AG made it. If you love it, if you hate it, I don't fucking care what you think.
Lovely. All right, let's have a little look through, shall we? So to kick off, we are using Charlie XCX's 360. The original is in C major, and I've kicked it up 2 semitones, which is D major, and we're actually doing it in the minor mode. So it's relative to D major is B minor. So B minor. If we look at the notes in our bass, we're starting off on the 1 on the B, going to the G, which is the 6th, going to the D, which is the 3rd, and then going to the A, which is the 7th. And that same chord progression happens throughout the song. And I've got a few different layers going on. There's this one, which is an F9 TK organ. And then I've got a sub underneath that, which is literally just the sub on Serum. And then I've done the envelope like this. And then we've got another Serum patch that I found, which is just a sort of drier version of that Korg M1. And then we're using the actual M1 plugin. And if you go to Combi organ, and then this perk organ here is the classic M1 sound. But in this, I've muted the organ, so we're only getting this vibe hit here. So it just helps add a little bit of attack. So all of those together. And in terms of the notes, one of the really important bits are these little bridge notes that we've got going on. So if I just mute these little bridge notes and we have a listen to that.
Went my own way and I made it. I'm your favorite reference, baby. Call me Gabrielle, you're so inspired.
So those little flicks just help the energy and give a bit of a melody to the bass line, so it's not just those same static notes going on. In this instance here, we're just going up 1 octave. And then here we're going down to the G before we go up to the A. And at the end of the phrase, we hit the C before we return back to this B.
Went my own way and I made it. I'm your favorite reference, baby. Call me Gabrielle, you're so inspired. Tectonic moves, I make.
And then with these vocals, I've just got a effects rack and I've got my dry chain here, so there's nothing on there. And then we've got a Valhalla reverb on there and then an echo. And I am automating the level of that reverb throughout the song. So it's at 1 loudness here in the verse. It gets a little bit quieter as we're going into the pre, because it felt a little bit muddy with everything that's going on there. And then when the track behind it is empty and there's just that kick and the bass, then I take the reverb back up again so we fill out that space a little bit more.
Can't relate, I'll always
into that pre, we've just got an almond break that I've cut up a little bit. And then some of the classic 909 crashes. I've got an echo on there as well, dotted at 8ths and at 30% wet. If that wasn't on, it would feel a little bit dry. That just helps to blend it into the track a little bit more.
Drop down, yeah. The camera flash on. So stylish. Big tears are gone. Drop down, yeah. Looking like an icon.
And then on this little bit leading into the drop, we're just hanging on that B. So that creates a little bit of melodic tension. So we're used to having this bass pattern resolve throughout this loop. And then once we hold on that B, then we know that there's something coming.
Drop down, yeah. Looking like an icon. Work angles, yeah.
And then just to build the tension as well, we've got some kicks in there.
Big tears are gone. Drop down, yeah. Looking like an icon. Work angles.
And then just to help that transition into the drop, I'm just automating the EQ. So we're taking the lows out as time goes on there, and we're taking the highs out as well, as you can see on the EQ there. And then when the drop comes, all the lows are let back in, and I've kept the highs out on this kick because I thought it sounded much better. And then just before the drop, I've taken all of the reverb and the echoes to 0, just in this little space. So the track empties out before the drop and then is more impactful when we get into it.
Yeah. That city seals, that's the vibe, internationally recognized. I set the tone, it's my design, and it's stuck in your mind.
So the kick, we just fall to the floor.
City seals, that's the vibe,
And I've used a shaper box just to shape it, just so it doesn't hang over to where the bass is playing. This is where our bass is going to be hitting. So I'm just cutting it out so the bass and the kick don't clash with each other. The bass in the drop is the exact same notes, and we're doing a different rhythm this time. It's just offbeat. So in between each kick, our kicks are hitting here, 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 and the bass is in between all of those kicks. And this is just a garage patch that I found, which works perfectly for this song. And if we look in that kick start, we can see where our kick is hitting and then our bass is hitting. Nice and separated, so there's no overlap between that kick and the bass.
Legacy is underrated. You gon' jump if AG made it. If you love it, if you hate it, I don't fucking.
And then to get into this second section of the drop, we just cut out the kicks, again creating a bit of space in the transition. So when this bit hits, it just hits a little bit harder. So we're taking the kicks out, we've got a reverse crash in there, and then some 909 crash hits.
If you hate it, I don't fucking care what you.
And then to make it a little bit more interesting, I've got this little percussion roll in there. And then I've got an echo on there to give it a bit more ambiance and a reverb.
I don't fucking care what you.
And then we are coming in with a clap. And then a second clap. We've got a hat loop. And then we've got a stack of hats here. I've got one hat hard left, one hat hard right, and it just helps to fill out the frequency spectrum with those hats and the stereo field as well. And we are coming in with this lead. So super simple. It's just 2 sine waves. One is an octave up, one is an octave down. And then we've got a bit of processing on there, a bit of distortion, a bit of chorus, and a bit of compression. And we have a vintage verb on there as well. And in terms of the melody, here we can see our red notes are the bass and our blue notes are the lead. So the start of our melody, we're starting on the 3rd note of this B chord here, which I find the 3rd is quite often the note that gives quite a lot of emotion. So if I'm struggling with melodies, I would tend to start on the 3rd, because for me, it tends to have that evocation and has quite a sort of nostalgic sound to it. So we're starting on the 3rd of this note here, and then as the bass goes down to the G, we hang on that D again. So we've got some stasis in the melody, but we've got change in the bass, which I think is really effective. And then we go up to the F sharp, which is the 3rd of this D, and then we go to the E, which is the 5th of this E. with these little bridge notes here and there. And there isn't really a science to these sort of notes. It could have been anything. This is just what sounded best to me and what sounded catchiest. When you're writing melodies like this, you want to be humming it once you've closed your laptop. So I think that's a good indication whether you've got a good melody or not, is whether it sticks in your head or not. And hopefully you won't be able to sleep at night, because this will be going around in your head and you'll be thinking of me. And we see at the end of that phrase, we've just slightly changed the notes of the end of the phrase. So here we've got the same rhythm with these 4 notes here, but I've just switched it up a little bit just to keep it a little bit more interesting. And then we introduce this little trance lead, and if I remember rightly, this is a Serum default. Yes, this is in pads, gated pad, and I'm literally just playing 1 note. So we're effectively following this lead here. And then I've done a little chop. So the original is this. So I've just chopped that up a little bit. So we've done a little bit of pitching on these little bits here. So that's down 1 semitone, and then we've taken that up 2 semitones. So again, we're sort of following this lead that we've got here. So we're not religiously following it, so they're not doing the exact same thing, because I think that could sound a little bit boring. And this section you can hear they're not doing the exact same thing. And then as we go to this section, they are doing the exact same thing. So it adds a nice bit of contrast between one section and the next. So it has a cohesion because they're in and around the same sort of notes and the same sort of rhythms, but they veer off in different directions and journeys at different parts of the melody. So it helps to keep that a little bit more interesting. I've done a second half yet again. So as we transition into this next bit, I've brought the breakbeats back in and I've taken the highs right out. So it's just a little bit more atmospheric. And we've got the M1 that's come back in. And I've got this bass clef washout, which is a really good rack, which is effectively just a EQ filter, taking out the lows and a reverb as well. So as we come into this section, there's a bit more reverb on this bass and some of the lows are taken out as well. And as we transition into the second drop, we just bring that up a little bit more. Just gives it a little bit more tension. And so to blend from our drop into this little break here, I've kept this trance lead going. Same again, I've taken out the highs. And then we've got the vocals back in exactly the same as they were in the first verse, but I've just taken the highs out of that as well. So the high cut comes about 400 hertz and then slowly increases as we get into that next drop. And then to add to the atmosphere, I've added these little chop bits here and echoed them really hard, and a lot of reverb as well. That just helps give some ambience and atmosphere to this section. And as we've taken the high end out of a lot of these elements, there was space for something else. So I've put this high string in there. So again, just helps add to the ambience. then just to switch it up a little bit, this trance lead, instead of doing this same melody that it's been doing throughout the song, just held it on this D up here, and then it creates a little bit of tension when it goes down to this C sharp, and then back up to the D. And then this time in the drop, we've got the snare roll. So just a 999 snare. And then I quite like to change the note of it every time. So it's not just the same sample playing at the same pitch the whole time. Just gives it a little bit of variation, makes it sound a little bit more natural. And then we've got this vocal little chop. Just repeats over and over. Again, just something different to that first half. And then just to help the impact on that, I've got this little sort of alarm riser thing, which is just a saw wave in Serum with a little bit of hyperdimension. And I've bent the note up a little bit, a lot of reverb, a lot of echo. It just helps give it that final push into that last drop. And then we go on to the drop as normal. So as you can see, my mic has just cut out on this outro. So the only thing I can do is try and lip read myself. Here goes. Roll up, all the Catholics to the left, all the Protestants to the right, and all the fancy religions down the middle.
I'm Daniel Plainview. This is my son, HW Plainview. I am a loyal man. I drink your milkshake.
Thanks for watching. Love to your mothers.